Hello, welcome to the Hard Carry. I'm your host Adam Fitch. I'm a journalist that covers the business side of esports, and I'm also the editor of Esports Insider, which is a business-to-business esports publication, one of the biggest in the industry. So the Hard Carry, what the hell is it? Well, the way I envisage it is that it will cover the main headlines and some of the smaller bits you may have missed, I suppose, of the entire esports industry. So there are a lot of podcasts that cover game-to-game bits and bobs, like Counter-Strike, your League of Legends and such, but there's nothing. There are a few, but there's not too many out there that are actually covering what I'm planning on covering for the business side of things. So the Hard Carry will be a weekly video series or podcast, depending on how you choose to consume content, really. It'll be available in both video and audio. That will cover the weekly happenings, so we can kind of keep abreast of what the hell's going on, because it's getting hectic. There's the headlines out there about it being $1 billion industry now, and you see all these massive sport group ownership groups, coming in, spending money. You see outside investors as well. So more and more is going on as a result. Many people think we're heading towards a bubble or a course correction, but we won't cover that unless shit happens, So really, because of my position as the editor of Esports Insider, all the business news kind of goes through me. It's up to me to go through it, or to even decide that we're going to cover it, to then edit it, make sure it's a good piece, publish it, distribute it on social media. So I see everything that's kind of happening, So first up this week, that what I'd consider to be the main talking point is the fact that Nike, the sportswear giant, it does more than just sportswear, but that's how you'll know it, really. Massive operator in sports in terms of sponsorships and marketing and such. Well, back in July, it decided to enter a multi-year partnership with Furia, which is a Brazilian esports organization, which came off of the back of a multi-year, I think a 4-year deal with TJ Sports, which is a company that runs the LPL, so a massive League of Legends competition, regional competition. Created home kits, team kits for each of the franchises in the league. What it has done in the past week has actually expanded its footprint in esports dramatically, and I assume there are more to come. So before I get into exactly what they've done, which seems like quite a smart tactic, it's worth noting that it's not common knowledge, at least as far as I'm aware, as to whether Nike has a central area, a central department that covers all of these types of partnerships, or what's more likely, considering it's a huge company, obviously, it should have regional departments. So I don't know if there's any kind of harmonious decisions across those. You'd have to assume so, considering that the nature of how quickly and how close together these announcements have come. So they've got LPL, okay? So they've got China, they've got Furia, which is Brazil, and let me go through. Okay, so on the 16th of January, at the time of recording this, it's the 18th, so just a couple of days ago, T1, South Korean organisation, huge, better known as SK Telecom until they rebranded recently, announced Nike as its exclusive apparel partner. So what that means is Nike will produce outfits, kits, jerseys and such for T1 and all of its players, including its particularly popular team in the LCK. It's got Faker on it. Everyone's kind of heard of it. If you know of League of Legends or esports in general, you've probably heard of SK Telecom and Faker, So, while we don't know the length of the deal, as of now, Nike will be involved in a bigger way than just providing some kits and slapping a Nike logo on it, It'll also produce cutting-edge training facilities for the organisation, and it will create some training programs that concentrate on both physical and mental durability, strength, awareness, all of that, So it seems like quite an integrated deal between the two. We'll have to see how it really affects things moving forward. It is just the start of the year, remember, but that's a sign of it expanding further into Asia, but looking at the Korean market of esports, and getting involved with T1 is probably the best way of doing that, unless you want to get involved with the LCK, but I mean that's a bigger deal within itself. So okay, so now it's got China, it's got Brazil, it's got Korea later in the week, in fact the next day. 2 more partnerships, both in Europe. So one with Vodafone Giants, also known as Giants Gaming. The title sponsor of that organisation is Vodafone, hence why it's named Vodafone Giants. On the 17th, the Spanish organisation announced a global partnership with Nike as well. While we don't necessarily know what that global partnership means just yet, nor do we know the real terms of it. The organisation and Nike are set to drop their first collection, so their first co-branded, co-produced collection of apparel for fans to purchase on the 20th of January. So I assume we'll find out more then. They just kind of put out an initial announcement, seemingly a press release, and a proper announcement will come further down the line to give more details on it. I've heard it's a long-term partnership. That doesn't really say too much, but it's more promising because it marks a bigger commitment from Nike. So from there, on the same day, SK Gaming, a German organisation which is owned by like Deutsche Telekom. I don't know how to pronounce that, like T-Mobile basically, but in German. Mercedes Benz got involved with it as well, and a couple of others. I can't remember off the top of my head. How bad is that? So SK Gaming also established a long-term partnership with both Nike and 11 Team Sports, which is like an online sneaker retail store, which will act as like the distribution partner for SK Gaming moving forward. So SK Gaming, the organisation, revealed kits that will be worn, and it looks pretty standard, to be honest, normal jersey, but it's emblazoned with the Nike swoosh as such on the chest there, opposite from the SK Gaming thing, and then the T-Mobile or Dutch Telecom, whatever, their branding underneath as one of the title sponsors and partners. So merchandise collection as well to coincide with the announcement, I should say, of the actual partnership. But nothing to say there'll be training programs and facilities involved in this particular partnership. So because of the disparity a little bit between the regions and also just the nature of the partnerships and what they actually entail, it's hard to know if they've all come from the same source. It's more likely that Nike has, as I say, regional departments that deal with all of them, but they're all in touch with each other as to what the esports strategy is. Obviously, Nike's a huge deal in sports and in just general life, pop culture, I guess, because sports kind of blends into that, and esports is getting to that place too. That's obviously a huge deal. It's plain to see that. We'll have to see how it goes with those organisations, and at this point, you have to imagine that more deals are going to come. Unless they're just going to try 5 different areas, countries or regions, and see how that goes. But I think there'll be some more on the horizon, such like Champion did with Optic Gaming and Dignitas Space Station Gaming, blah 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 blah. FaZe, Fnatic. I imagine Nike could be getting involved in a big way there because there is an opportunity. I'm not a big fan of players having to wear jerseys, to be completely honest with you, but if you're going to wear them, then at least have Nike on them, So that's quite a good look. So we'll move into another story which happened earlier in the week on the 15th. We reported on it at Esports Insider. Was Allied Esports. So it's an esports entertainment company that's involved and in charge of the HyperX esports arena down in Las Vegas, as well as the esports trucks and stuff like that. HyperX are massively involved in that, but it is Allied Esports. So that has its own affiliate network where venues can partner with Allied Esports and then run them co-branded and such, and I guess co-run them, co-produce the venues and what's happening. So it received investment from Simon Property Group, which is in charge of a lot of malls in America, in 2019, and now it will receive a $5 million investment from the Brookfield Property Partners to continue with the trend of putting esports venues and facilities and mini arenas, I guess, with broadcast capabilities and streaming production studios and such into malls in America. So while that's quite a young partnership, it's a new partnership, we don't know exactly what that's going to produce in terms of the scale of it. We kind of know what to expect. What we don't know what to expect, though, unfortunately, is the reception to these, really, and just how much they'll take off. It might be a little bit premature to be banging esports venues absolutely everywhere across America. It's still somewhat in its infancy compared to where it could be in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, But that is a notable deal. Allied Esports has been making strides, a lot of partnerships, bringing a lot of affiliates into its network, receiving investment from all over the shop. So that's one to keep an eye on. It's opening. Actually, Allied Esports has agreed has announced, that it will open a venue in the Mall of Georgia alongside Simon, as I said, the recent investor in the company, and that's part of its network. And I assume more and more of these will crop up with this real estate company now investing and getting involved. So next on the agenda is Astralis Group, which is obviously the ownership group behind CS:GO Team Astralis, LEC, so European League of Legends side Origin, and FIFA brand, quite new FIFA brand, Future FC. It's a Saturday. I'm supposed to be resting, So after establishing a partnership last week, which we won't cover here, what it's done is it's renewed a deal with Omen by HP, which actually partnered with all of Refresh's properties when they were under Refresh Entertainment before that split to create Astralis Group and Blast. Only Astralis is involved in this deal, though. At the time of announcement, only Astralis was involved in it, so we don't know if Origin and Future FC are actually going to get any sort of piece of the pie off their part of a package deal between Astralis Group and HP. So the partnership is said to extend and increase the deal between the two and the relations between the two and the output, but we don't necessarily know what that means just yet. If it's just simply some social media branding and putting it on the website and then putting it on the jerseys and producing a little bit of content, that's not too great. We expect great things from Astralis overall, so I'd like to see that being a much more involved harmonious partnership between the two, especially extending it another year, and they're at least saying themselves that they're going to do bigger and better things. I hope the proof's in the pudding there and they actually fucking show it and do something great, because Astralis brings a lot of potential exposure along and engagement. The fans are very much behind Astralis, so that's a big opportunity for HP with his Omen brand, which is obviously partnered with so many other events and teams and organisations, but Astralis should be a key partner for them in esports. So, as well as that, Astralis picked up a 1-year partnership with CS Money, so that's a skin site, a controversial topic really, but we have to imagine that's for quite a lot of money, I will say. But they've also partnered with the likes of Thorin, who we know is a very stand-up guy, would not partner with a company that is using improper practices and such. It seems to be a safe bet as such, excuse the pun there. So the deal includes a jersey sponsorship where they've actually merged the logos together. So there's a knife in the CS Money logo. What they've done is taken it out and put Astralis' star within that, and it looks quite cool. It's a nice little integration and something a bit different that should stand out in theory. And there'll be digital activations as well. What that means is probably just some content, but also you should be able to let me just check here while I remember. Okay. One of the digital activations will give fans the opportunity to win and play with the skins used by Astralis in particular tournaments. We don't know what they are yet, what they've agreed upon, but we'll obviously see soon. The CSGO calendar's about to pick up again rather soon after the whole player break over Christmas and New Year. So the deal is actually slated to start in February, but anything to do with Astralis is worth talking about, especially in what's probably quite a valuable deal for them, So they've wasted no time in the new year getting things together and kicking things off with a bang, bringing in new partners and retaining existing partners, especially after they've just gone public as well. That they need all the support they can get and to keep the value there for people who invested in the organisation and the company. So, last but certainly not least on my list is Fnatic. So, the London-based organisation, it's been around for a long, long, long time. It's created so many amazing things, great partners in the past. It's actually announced a charitable partnership with UNICEF. So, it's like a children's organisation, charitable, that does a lot of amazing things. And having Fnatic involved in that is a good look for them. And it's also a very good look for Fnatic, obviously, showing which we've seen quite a lot in esports, especially in 2019. Charity is a big thing. Obviously, how you're perceived by the public and the press that you can get off of being charitable is an amazing thing. It is very lucrative for them in a sense when it comes to press and fan reception and perception. So it makes sense for Fnatic to do this. The partnership actually starts later this month with the hashtag #GotYourBack campaign where Marcus Rashford will be playing with Tex, which is a Fnatic FIFA player. I think he's supposed to be the best in the world. Wins absolutely everything. I think he won the E-Premier League with Liverpool last year. I don't really follow FIFA, but there you go. There's a bit of that. So that will start through there, and it'll run through some of February, I believe, as well. So great initiative. Good looks for both involved, and hopefully it turns out to be fruitful with a lot of money raised and a lot of awareness raised for obviously the plethora of issues that are going on out there in the world. So Fnatic is also in the news by working alongside Gucci. So it's not a partnership as far as we can tell, not even a sponsorship. Just each year, Gucci, or the person that runs it at least, invites celebrities and such to come sit at the front row of their shows. Fnatic, so it's LEC team. So 5 players. I'm not going to read them all out. You know who they are. If not, go to Wikipedia. The entire League of Legends team that represents Fnatic, that will for the 2020 season at least, dressed up in Gucci clothing. I'm going to say they look a bit stupid, to be honest. Like, just because it's expensive doesn't mean it looks great. But whatever, I'm wearing an esports hat, so it doesn't really matter, you know. They went front row, sat there alongside like Andrew Garfield. So we've got the old Spider-Man there, you know. We've got Jared Leto, who obviously a singer and an actor, big deal. Whether he was good as Joker in Suicide Squad or not, regardless, ignore that. He's done some great things in the past. And so they were sat alongside those. So obviously A-list celebrities, and then Fnatic. Look, it's a bit weird. It's a tiny bit awkward. But I mean, like, after Louis Vuitton and League of Legends, especially with the World Championship last year, with that happening and the hype around that, it makes sense for Fnatic to get in with that however possible, you know. So getting involved with Gucci, I imagine something could come out of this further down the line. But at the moment, it just looks like a little bit of a good press week for Fnatic. But nonetheless, saying you've got a relationship with Gucci in any capacity can have its benefits, you know, especially when speaking to future partners and such, and investors and so on and so forth. So obviously plenty of other things happened. It was actually one of the busiest weeks I've seen for industry news since I started covering it daily like 2 years ago. I think it's literally 2 years ago today almost, when I joined Esports Insider. Very, very busy week, plenty to go on, but I can't go through it all. I want to kind of make this snappy. I don't want it to be too long and go on for an hour, when you could just go on a website, go on social media and see everything yourself, you know. So this was the first episode of the Hard Carry. I'm going to do my very best to stick to this weekly. If I'm traveling for events and stuff, that might cause some trouble, so I'll maybe be able to do it on different days and still put it out on Saturdays, because Saturdays are the days where I plan to put this out. If you want to see more stories and less actual explanations on what's going on, which doesn't really sit well with me, but if that's what you prefer, if that's what would work better within this format, then feel free to let me know. I'm very receptive to anything, any sort of feedback which can help me get better at this, you know. Working my way through all the ideas that I've got to create a solid content schedule. So I'm committing to the Hard Carry being weekly, releasing on Saturdays. Let me know how you think it went. Obviously, it's the first episode. It's not going to be perfect, but we will get there together. Let me know. Give me some feedback. I'm by Adam Fitch everywhere. Feel free to comment on the video if you're watching on YouTube. If you're on a podcast platform, you can find me on Twitter at by Adam Fitch, as I say. So just let me know there. You can DM me. I'm very responsive there. Blah, 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 blah. You get the deal. Go to esportsinsider.com. It's nothing to do with them, really. It's just where I see everything happen, you know, so I'm reading that stuff out. Apart from that, thank you very much for giving me a chance on the first episode. I hope you join me again next Saturday for the second episode of the Hard Carry podcast.